All right, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of my AMU fellow classmates and Professor S for my motor movement and development course at American Military University. Today is the final project day for this motor movement class, and my topic that we're going to be talking about today is going to be freezing and unfreezing degrees of motion, degrees of movement. I have my assistant here, which is my son, who is a fairly accomplished track athlete. So he's going to do his best today to show us kind of the concepts that he already has learned, but he's going to show them at an amateur level, and then we're going to progress through very quickly to the professional level and the mastery of movement. Let's go ahead and just get started. All right, so here we are again. We're back. Now we're going to go ahead and have Zavi start off showing you some of the positions, some of the wrong positions that we have for running. Now I have a ladder out today that we're going to use to show how we can use these movements with inertial progress, so to show that we can actually use them in motion and we can use them with power and strength. However, we're going to start off in a stationary position to show the specific joint movements and the joint positions that you should be in for this particular movement. Now Bernstein broke down his theory of degrees of motion, freezing degrees of movement, into really a simple concept of breaking it down into simple movements that we already have mastered. So for the run form, what we're looking for, we're going to look at three different positions on the body. We're going to look at the hips, then we're going to go to the knees, and then we're going to go to the ankles. Now we're not going to move into the upper body kind of balance portion of the run, but we are going to say right there in the lower extremities. So what I want you guys to take a quick look at, we're going to start with the hips and build from the hips, since it is kind of the reaction point and it is kind of the foundation of all runners. Now with the hip motion, what we're going to teach for freezing is going to be an elevated position of the hip. Good. Right here. Now this is the correct position. This is where we always want to be, with a nice high knee, with the ankle flexed, and the hip into full flexion here. And now, as he drops that back down, now we're going to show the incorrect position. As he comes up, those hips, they don't rise as much. His knee also doesn't come up into full height. And then also, if you look at his ankles here, his ankles drop into extension. That is not what we want. Okay, so now in order to get to where we want, we're going to start with the hips. Now the hips, we're going to go down, drop back down. We're going to teach him with 5 reps to raise that hip level up each time. Now we're going to go 5 reps of it. Here we go. On 1, raise up, down, up, 4, up, 5. Good. Now we're training that motion. We're training that cognitive thought process to remember, this is the motion I want. I want that hip nice and high. Now, if you allow your athletes, while you're training them, just to do kind of a lazy hip throw, that's what you're going to get. Their body is going to, their mind is going to think that is the process for running, and that's all that's going to happen all day long. Okay, so now we started on the hip, we're going to move into the knee. Now, we're going to continue to build on the foundation that we started with the hip, with a nice high hip throw, and then we're going to bring the knee up as well, and we're going to go 5 reps with this. And here we go, Zavi. Up on 5, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, 4, up, down, 5. Good. Now we notice how the hip went nice and high, threw itself nice and high, and the knee also came up with it. All right, so that's foundational progress there. We built from the hip, moved to the knee. Now we're going to move down into the ankles. All right. Now remember, when we started off, Zavi had that kind of that low extension of the ankle. We want a nice, high, tight flexion of the ankle. All right. And what that's going to help us do is that's going to help us throw that hip high and bring that knee high. So everything's building with itself and finishing to a point. All right. So now we're going to go 5 reps again with the ankle. And here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and go. Up. Good. And I want you to up and hold this time, Zavi. Up, hold. Good. Now we see that all the 3 points are coming together. The hips are nice and high, knee is nice and high above the hips or at parallel height, and then the toe is nice and flexed, pulling up towards the knee, which is aligning all of these joints. All right, so we're building on this process of freezing these 3 joints. All right, drop back down and give me 3 more. Up, down, up, down, up, down. Good. So now we've already frozen in the motion for our left leg. Now we will move over to the right if we have more time, but we're going to go ahead and pause this video and we're going to fast forward to the next sequence to show how that we can move that process into an inertial forward movement for a proper run form. Okay, and we're back. Now we're moving on into stage 2, which is releasing and reorganizing degrees of freedom. So at this point, we're to the point that now we no longer just kind of relax out of the movement because we don't want to kind of improve our odds of accuracy and whatnot. With our run form again, we were talking about flexion from the hips to the knees to the ankles, which Zavi has mastered at this point, but now we're going to put it into actual movement. So we will show how this is actually applied to movement in a bad way first, all right, and it's what I call flippers when I'm training my athletes. Now Zavi will show you an example of flippers and we'll show you why that is wrong. All right, Zavi, go ahead and give me a 5 count of flippers and I'll give you 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ready, begin. Flippers, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. Now, as you see when he finished that, his knee was nice and low, not good. The flexion in his toes was pointed straight at the ground where it should not be. So this also means that his hips are no longer elevated at this point. Okay, so go ahead and drop that. So if we had not completed any of the stages of freezing and non-freezing, that's the product that you would get if they were just to run in place. Now, what we're going to do is go ahead and cement that movement in. First, we're going to review again, and we go back to our form, correct run form. Hip nice and elevated, Zavi. Hip nice and elevated, knee nice and elevated, heel pulled forward, toe pulled up towards the knee. Good. Now we're in mind on that. Go ahead and drop. Now we're going to go again, a nice 5 count. All right, a nice 5 count on 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Zavi is going to perform the appropriate high knee lift and run form. And here we go, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Begin. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. And see where he finished again. This means it's trained into that cognitive thought process that to now be nice high hips elevated, knee elevated, toe pulled, and the hip and the ankle and the heel pulled forward. Great job, Zavi. Go ahead and drop that back down. All right. So the next stage that we're going to move on to is going to be stage 3. And we'll get to that next. All right. All right, welcome back. We're now moving on to stage 3 of Bernstein's theory of freezing and unfreezing learned movements. So now we have Zavi in the 3rd stage, which is exploiting the mechanical inertial properties of all the limbs. So what we're going to talk about first is a concept that we're not going to get into too in depth. However, it is going to be ground power transfer. When we're running, there is a theory of ground power transfer that we push into the ground. Whatever we push into the ground will then in turn be forced back up into our body and create force movement forward. Now, so with this, I'm talking about the 2nd stage when we went and we saw the flippers that we were talking about, where your knee barely comes off the ground and only you get a little bit of flexion from your knee and that's it. Well, if you notice, I'm doing a flipper and then Zavi does an actual run form, high knee. Look at how high that knee and that foot is actually coming off the ground. So now that he has much more distance between his foot pad and the ground than I will. So he's going to create that much more power, the ground power transfer, when he presses to the ground. So we're going to use that to our advantage. Okay, so we're going to eliminate the lesser movements, take the higher road, and throw it all the way through on a ladder drill. Now, as you watch him go through the ladder drill, watch and see how his knee actually goes high, stays high, and once he gets to that highest level and returns back into the neutral position, you'll notice the development. And he no longer has those flippers on anymore, and now he has nice high knees, ankle flexion, and hip extension through the whole thing. All right, so as I was going to go through, it looks like a 6 square grid just nice and high. Take it nice and slow this first time, and then we'll go through full speed the next time. And ready, begin. Good. Good, and return. Good. So he went all the way through. His knees were nice and high. Everything was in order. Cognitive reaction is, hey, this is a movement that I know how to do. All right, and one more time at high speed. Good, good, good. Now again, there's that concept of movement, of ground power transfer that he just created right there. I can't do it by just lifting my foot barely off the ground and hoping that gravity pulls me forward. I have to force movement down into the ground, which is what Zavi just did. And that's the 3 stages of Bernstein's theory of motor movement. First stage, freezing and unfreezing. Second stage and first stage kind of go hand in hand, committing it to memory, learning it to actually use it in movement. And then stage 3, exploiting mechanical inertial properties of the movement. And there it is. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.